Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie. Bradley's mother narcissisted and passed away 4 months ago. Bradley is autistic and needs structured routine and therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to Italian social services. If he is ruled to go back, he will face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system, where he can't speak or understand the language. He will be taken away from the only family he has ever known. Please call Governor Hochul, New York State at 518 474 8390. That's Governor Hochul, 518 474 8390, to please keep Bradley safe here in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. I have a return guest on. I have my good friend Dawn McCarty back on. She was last on season 4, episode 62, March 26th of 2023, where we discussed part 1 of a podcast, Keeping Kids Safe Online. And Dawn is the founder of Security Everything, a cybersecurity company, and she is on a mission to help families stay safe online by transforming concerned parents into online safety ninjas, which we all need to be. So I totally welcome you back, Dawn. We're going to talk about personal cybersecurity and a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I kind of do a little pivot here and talk about the opening and talking about Bradley?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it sounds to me, because I think I have a little personal experience with this kind of, it sounds like a possible abduction. And I am an adult survivor of abduction in that type of scenario. And I just want to add in there the long-term effects that we kids go through and what he may have to endure if something like that were to take place and we don't intervene and find a way to stop. And let's not talk about it in the necessarily as a civil matter, which we often hear from law enforcement, because it's not a civil matter. It's against the law in all 50 states. So it is a law that we need to address.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is more about the child's right to thrive,
Mm-hmm.
the right to have a life that they're supposed to live, and without someone altering it to such a drastic degree. And that happened to me, and it took 44 years for me to reconnect or reunite with
Mm-hmm.
my biological father that I never forgot. 44 years thinking of him every single day. So we can't change and alter children's lives just because they're children and we think they're going to forget about it. What we do is we grow up around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's still inside and it still is very painful, very traumatic. So I just wanted to add that in for Bradley's sake.
Thank you, because people think children are resilient and they really
Yeah.
aren't. No.
No, we just figure out a way to survive.
Mhm.
And then it's always in silence because we don't get to use our voice. Remember, kids are seen and not heard.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
got
you're
to
absolutely
stop
right.
taking their voice away from them.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely.
Yes, and, there's just so much out there that everyone has to worry about, and I know we were talking about the last time you were on, we were talking about these Faraday cages,
Hmm.
and people were saying, "Oh, yeah, put them over your router, that way they can't do surveillance on your
Yeah.
computer."
Which,
Uh,
and I think I mentioned something about that's not going to work. And to clarify, it would work if you're not using your router or your modem, and
mhm,
if you're not needing Wi-Fi. You can put a Faraday cage around it. You can put it in a Faraday cage, but it's not going to function.
mm,
Nothing is going to get out, because the Faraday cage is preventing anything from being admitted up to and as strong as an EMP, right?
mm,
So Wi-Fi signals would be stopped and you wouldn't be able to detect that there's a router there, but you also would not be doing your own surfing on the net if that were the case. So
yeah,
yeah, it can protect it, but it's really only going to protect it from being destroyed by an EMP. um, I don't know that I think a Faraday cage is too much to too much extent to go through if you can just unplug your Wi-Fi and nobody can detect it. And there's a couple other things you can do too, is changing the name of your Wi-Fi that is discoverable, so that people driving by or people coming into your home can't just jump on to your Wi-Fi. So there's other ways of protecting that.
Okay.
Other than a Faraday cage.
Okay, not to sound stupid, but what's an EMP? I should probably.
That's an electronic. I'm gonna get it all. We have so many dang acronyms. I get them all.
I know.
Ah! Electromagnetic pulse, I believe.
Oh, I should have known that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a emergency medical professional. It's there's so many things that I really have to like. I feel like it's a different language sometimes, and I have to translate which one am I talking about right now. So
definitely,
and I don't talk about EMP in the Faraday cage sense of the word that often. Only once in a while. So
yeah, that's very interesting. You know, people are on these thinking these Faraday cages are going to do more than what they think.
Well, and the purpose of it is to protect your components of your computer systems so that someone can't destroy your routers. Or, in our government, we have components in a lot of our government type assets. If you think about it, in our nuclear plants, in our smokestack, our chimneys, those also have little electronic computer components in there that also would need to be protected, because that's power and energy. So there's a lot to protecting our power grids and whatnot. And sometimes that EMP or the Faraday cage will protect those components against being attacked, but it only works if it's surrounded or in a Faraday cage.
Okay.
So you would have to think, I need to protect my laptop, for example. And if you go to bed at night and you have a box that's like a Faraday cage, it would protect it overnight while you're sleeping. But when you get up the next morning and you take it out and turn it on, it's no longer protected. So you can't use it while it's in the Faraday cage.
Interesting. No, I didn't know that either. So we're learning more about these things, and I didn't know that.
I think I would much rather see someone that doesn't want their Wi-Fi signal to be detectable by others. I think I would suggest that you change your password that's stamped right on the outside of your router. So if you go and you pick up your router that your internet service provider installed for you, turn it over and you'll see the admin and your Wi-Fi password and your admin password, so that all I have to do is go take a quick snap. Those smartphones that we have now with cameras. I just need to take a quick picture of that, and then I have it. Plus, even let's say I don't have access to go in and take a picture of it, but let's say that your Wi-Fi is named the same name as the type of router that you own. So, for example, Netgear is a very common router or modem. So if I can detect that you have a Netgear, and it'll usually have a number after it, like 12 or whatever the version is, the default passwords are already exposed on the dark web. So if I'm a bad actor, then I might attempt to get a hold of those passwords, so that if I can detect and I'm trying to break into your particular Wi-Fi, I would have a better chance of being able to at that point. So the only way to prevent that is to change the name of your Wi-Fi so it's not named Netgear. And you don't want it to say, "Hi, I'm Marianne," or "Hi, I'm Dawn." You don't want it to identify you in any way. There's times that I've called mine, what did we call it? It was something funny. It was like, FBI lives here or something like that.
Yeah.
Because nobody would want to touch, just in case that might just thwart someone off. But you really want to name it something different, but also hide it. Now, where people don't like to hide it is that you have to actually then type it in anytime you want to set up a new device. And so you would have to know the name of that. They call it the SID. It's a SSID. So if you were looking, that's what it would be called in your admin settings, and changing that name means that you would actually have to remember it and type it in every time you want to use it.
Wow. Okay.
And then you want to also change that default Wi-Fi password, which is usually 3 words stamped on the outside of your router. And it could be like Aqua Coconuts Bahama.
Mm-hmm.
And they put 3 words in there to make it stronger. But if those are already exposed on the dark web, or if someone has access to your router, now they know it. So you want to change that default password as well. And it needs to be 3 words or more. I suggest 14 characters. Make it a phrase. A passphrase, not a password.
Okay.
3 words or a passphrase with 14 characters.
That's a good idea. Make it a
Passphrases are easy for you to remember. You just have to remember, did I use a space or not in between the words? Because spaces are now, you can now use spaces as well, which definitely helps to enhance your password.
Okay. Oh yeah, well, hey, things are improving so quickly though. They're changing constantly. And you've got to keep up with that as well. And we were talking earlier, we were talking about these VPNs. And
yeah,
you should get the paid one because you're more protected with the paid one than a freebie.
Exactly. So when we were talking earlier about things changing so fast, technology changes so fast where sometimes I don't even know there's a new piece or a new piece of technology or a new name or a new app until something happens, or until someone else shares something because something happened to them. So there's just, even in the cybersecurity world, we're not even all we used to be able to just do the job ourselves. You could be a one hat admin. Not anymore. We're so segregated into different niches inside of cybersecurity that it's impossible for one person to know how to do all of it. So it's not easy to keep up with. We need more and more people constantly. So, but to VPN, let's get to VPN, because one of the things is in most of my training, so you're getting a little free coaching here. You cannot use a free VPN and consider yourself safe. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And what it does is it encrypts your connection between A and B. So if you're on your computer at home and you want to log into your bank across town, or on the internet, technically, you want that to be encrypted so that nobody else that is around you can read what you're sending, can gain information. When you're sitting in Starbucks and you're using their public Wi-Fi, everybody in Starbucks can see that traffic that you're sending back and forth, your password, the amount on your account, how much money you have in the account, your login information. That information is available on all public Wi-Fi, unless you're using a VPN. When you use that VPN, it makes your communication now private, and you could be sitting in Starbucks with 100 people in there and nobody's going to be able to see what you're doing online. If you're in a hotel, same thing. If you use the hotel guest Wi-Fi, everybody in that hotel can see that traffic online unless you're using that VPN. And then they can no longer see it. So it's really, really important today, in this day and age, in our digital world that we have today, to use a VPN. It's almost a necessity. I wish I could make it a requirement.
You're right.
But whenever we're online, even from home, if someone was able to get me to click on a link and install something on my phone, or if I clicked on a link on my computer and now there's some kind of like keylogger or something that sends information back to that bad actor, now everything is exposed and they can see everything I do. So VPN helps to minimize that visibility, and also never click on links that you don't know who they're from.
Right.
Because that VPN won't help you with that. Once you click on that link, you could be hooked. So,
well, when I go into Starbucks, I'm not using their Wi-Fi, or am I?
if you're talking about your cell phone data,
Yeah.
if you're using your own cell phone data, that's much better than using their Wi-Fi. A lot of times people have data restrictions, So they switch over to the public Wi-Fi, so they're not using their data.
Okay.
If you have a prepaid plan, if you have a plan that only allows you to use 2 gigs or whatever the limitation is, sometimes they tend to do that so they can save that data for other things. But now you need to put a VPN on that phone so that you are safely surfing online.
And I see, I didn't know that either. I mean, I just never used somebody else's Wi-Fi password at all when I go
That's
anywhere.
good. A lot of times the guest Wi-Fi is free, and all you have to do is hit their login page. You log in, and then all of a sudden you have access to their Wi-Fi. Like you can go into Michael's, into Walmart, into Starbucks, into any hotel, any amusement park, big areas like that. Sometimes even our cable providers provide a Wi-Fi area. And that's what's handy about that is if it's from your cell phone provider, you're not switching between someone's public Wi-Fi. It's just switching for you. But if you're literally switching on to someone's public Wi-Fi, you're more at risk rather than using your own data. So you would be better off, and I know it's a financial thing, so this is depending on everybody's situation, it would be better to pay for more usage, more data, than to take the risk of using a public Wi-Fi. And it would be better to pay, it's always better to pay for an annual subscription of an antivirus and a VPN. And here's why I say you need to pay for these products, because there's tons of free ones out there. So Dawn, why would I pay for something I can get for free?
Because I'm a cheapskate.
Yeah, and the internet has taught us that. The
Right.
internet has given us so much information, hasn't cost us anything other than our subscription to our internet service provider, right? Well, here's why. When you download and install a free version of any of those available out there, those free versions are not getting maintenance. They're not a priority. They only get an update maybe once a month. So if you get your update today and tomorrow there's a new virus out there and you click on a link or someone sends you something, and you now have 29 days of potentially stepping into being involved in that situation, in a breach or getting exposed, being scammed, whatever it is, someone bricking your phone. So 29 days of risk is what you're doing, of losing financially, losing your reputation, whatever could come out of being clicking on the wrong links or being phished, being scammed, whatever it is. You have 29 to 30 days of that exposure. If you pay for a paid subscription, then you're getting updated daily. So if something happens today, you're updated. Something happens tomorrow, what they're looking at is updating what's called signatures. So there's signature files to all of these viruses and whatnot that are out there. And those signatures are shared among all of the antivirus programs usually. And then they update their information very quickly. And because you're a premium paid customer, you now get access to those instant updates, nearly instant updates. Some of them are instant, some of them are daily. It depends on the brand itself. But those free versions, they're not going to touch that for 30 days. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe. But most of the time, it's 30 days. So you're at risk. You're only protected 1 day a month. That's 12 days in an entire year. So don't be cheap on the antivirus. Don't be cheap on the VPN. It's worth it. And they're not expensive. They're less than $100 a year. That's not expensive. When you could lose hundreds or thousands of dollars out of your bank account, you could lose reputational damage. You could be embarrassed online. Your friends and family could find out. It could jeopardize a job, maybe if you're in the financial or healthcare industry. So this kind of stuff can affect everything else around you. So it's important to make sure you're paying for those particular things. An internet security suite that includes antivirus and a VPN. and keep that VPN on. We'll keep them both on. But if the VPN's off, it's not doing you any good. And also another thing with your antivirus is you want to make sure that it's automatically updating as often as possible so that you can, I don't want to say set it and forget it, because with cybersecurity these days, you can never set and forget anymore. That just doesn't exist. You have to constantly monitor. You want to set it up to be as successful as possible, to get as many updates as possible, but you need to verify that it actually is updating. Like there wasn't an error. Maybe something happened to your account. Maybe something happened to your internet and it interrupted the last scan. You have to verify that it is working as designed.
Yeah, it seems like some of this stuff at least is way over my head. Like,
it can be very overwhelming too. Yeah, it definitely can. So that's why I try to explain as much as I can in the why you have to look for these particular things. Because if I can start you here, then I at least setting you up to be a little bit more secure, and then we can add on lessons from there. But these are the basics: resetting that password off of your router, resetting your Wi-Fi and renaming your Wi-Fi, getting an antivirus, and getting VPN. Those are my top 5 lessons that I always teach. Those are the most important things to set you up to be as secure as possible.
Yeah.
There's more to do. You're not safe at that point, but you're safer from there.
What about these track phones? What if someone is going through some domestic violence issues and they're being stalked through their own phone?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is far too common. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're in an intimate family violent type situation or a domestic violence situation. It could just be someone that is just nosy. Sometimes parents are doing it to their kids. So depending on the level of severity. So now when you are talking about someone that feels threatened, feels unsafe, and feels violated, no privacy, and maybe feeling in intimate danger, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I think we need to have, we're going to have some kind of laws or something in place that protects people from being stalked or harassed like that online or even by your phone. So it's not just on your phone. Sometimes it crosses over into your social media platforms. So it might start with your phone, but you're logging into your social media on your phone. So sometimes that information gets shared. Now they know what profile you are when they go to Facebook. They can friend you and under a different name, a different profile, which I would call catfishing, except they're not doing anything. They're just tracking you. They're just watching what you do. Now they're informed with information that they should not have. You could be sharing information that you think is just between you and some friends, but then all of a sudden your spouse or your ex or a former acquaintance now knows more about you, and you can't figure out, well, how are they finding out? Well, it could be something's tracking on your phone. And if they ever have access to your phone, it could be that they installed a Where Am I type app, or where is this person? There's things that even I've used before to track my kids. And we sat down and said, look, you have access to see where I'm at. I have access to see where you're at. So it was a mutual agreement that we put this app on our phone. Chances are, though, in this situation, it's not mutual, and most of the time it's not even known. So your phone could be leading people to wherever you are at any time, which in itself is creepy. It makes you feel like you are not safe. And we all are entitled to feel safe. So this particular topic can get really, really dicey because there's so many things to consider. In anybody that's put in a domestic violence type or intimate violent type situation, it's a lot of concern goes around how are people getting access to them, and it can be through that phone. So what is, and we talked a little bit about this, some suggestions that I would have for you is, one, don't ever stop using that phone.
Mm-hmm.
You need to maintain what is normal so that you don't, one, raise suspicion that you're onto something, because that could be when things get intense or intensify from there. So you want to maintain normal activity that you would normally have, but I want you to buy a track phone or something, another phone from, like, you can get them from Walmart, that kind of stuff that nobody else knows about.
Mm-hmm.
And except for key people that you need to communicate with without this other person knowing. So that phone is now it's private and you don't share it. You don't give it out to anybody. If you need to give out a phone number, I suggest getting a Google number
Mm-hmm.
and giving that out. That's what I call a throwaway phone number. So I don't have to give them my personal cell phone number. So this phone that you get through Walmart, if it's a track phone, and there's different phone brands. I don't mean to only name one, but for simplicity. So you get a track phone, and that phone is used only to communicate on private matters. And the other phone is to communicate on normal matters. So what happens if you stop using that other phone is they're going to know they must have got another phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're tech savvy in any way, if they have access to you still, if you still meet them, if they have a password maybe to your backup system and they know you're going to download that, there's all kinds of ways that they could figure out how to gain access if they know what you're doing. And you want to make sure you don't share that number ever on Facebook or any kind of social media platform. So that can help you to eliminate that personal share of information and still keep that other phone going like it normally is, so you're not spiking any kind of suspicion.
Because I know, like, some people say, gee, there's just too many passwords to remember. How can I possibly remember 26 passwords for everything? But
that's another thing too. And when so my answer, I have an answer for that. I have answers for that.
yeah.
So I have hundreds of passwords. In fact, if you look at my password vault, my kids are like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, why do I have to look through all this?" But it's because I may not log into something for a month or 6 months. It depends. Depends on how many times I need to log into, if it's an airline or if it's TSA or if it's whatever. Those are not things I use every day.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to remember it in 6 months when I need to go in and check when do I have to renew this or whatever the case may be? So I have different suggestions on that, and there's ways that I give people on how to create a unique and complex password without having to struggle to remember it. And it's usually by creating a passphrase, like I was telling you earlier. So an example that I use is I love Shark Week.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Shark Week in itself. If I was someone that actually loved Shark Week, you might see that kind of stuff on my social media.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say, wow, she loves Shark Week. Her password might have something to do with sharks. So this is that social engineering kind of thought that these guys put into it, and they try to figure out what could your password be about. So if I'm using I love Shark Week, I might tweak it a little bit. My E's might become 3s and, make it a little bit more complex, but that's still not safe enough.
Right.
Unfortunately. So how do I make I love Shark Week a password for Facebook and Twitter and my bank account and my LinkedIn account and my hospital account where I check my, labs that just came in, and my child's school, and I check on their homework, and then I have to log into, all these different things. And I only have I love Shark Week. What do I do? So what I have people do is in the front or the back, however you want to do it, you can put it in the middle for all I care, as long as you remember your own pattern. So if you're using a word like I love Shark Week, which is a passphrase, it's not a password. So we need to move away from using passwords because they're 60 something years old. And it's time to let the password die. It's just not safe to use any kind of password these days. That's a book or a dictionary word type thing. So you could say Facebook, maybe I love Shark Week watching, or I'm on Facebook watching Shark Week. That's how you could make your password. Something that you would remember, easier to remember. So you just kind of have to make it unique to you, something you won't forget. But you're still relying on your memory to remember now, how did I word that for Twitter?
Mhm.
And you could say the same phrase, but then that shows a pattern. So you kind of want to avoid patterns.
Mhm.
So you need a password vault. They're super inexpensive. Some of them are free with your antivirus that you already bought because you went out and bought it already, right? So they might also include a password vault. So don't buy one if you already have something like that. You need to check that first. And then if you don't have one included in that, then you can buy other ones that are like $20 for the year. They're super inexpensive, but they deliver a lot of encryption, a lot of power, and you don't have to remember all of those passwords anymore. You just have to remember one, and you make that one super, super strong. Like, I love Shark Week, protecting my password vault. Don't use that, but that's an example.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you just make it something that's super strong, long. It's a pain in the butt to type in, but you only have to type it in once, and you have access to everything else that it will do for you. So when I land on Facebook, I'm no longer typing in my password. It's taking over and typing, it's putting it in there for me, encrypted, so that it's not being shared if someone put a keylogger on my computer.
Hmm.
So now I'm even more protected in that aspect. So if someone is stalking me, either via cyber or someone personal that is, I'm in imminent kind of danger, I want to use a password vault so that they cannot gain access to all of my accounts. Now, here's the problem. If we're using one password and I'm able to hack your Facebook account, guess what I have? I have
Everything.
access to all your other accounts if you're using the same password. All I need to do is figure out what's your user ID. If I know your email, maybe I know you well enough that I know your normal user ID, what you would normally use. Maybe I know your email address. So, I mean, it might take me a little bit of work, but it's not going to be that hard to break into all of the rest of your accounts.
Yeah, that's creepy. That really
Yep.
is.
And then I could even create profiles with your name on it. Start making friends with your friends and doing some nefarious things there. So that's, you can see online where people are sending out links to someone's friends that makes it look like it's from you. So there's all kinds of areas here that we really need to tighten down and put in some of these security measures to keep ourselves safer online.
I notice a link that you'll get on Messenger saying, "Oh, hey, look at this. Somebody died." And then there's a
Yes.
URL. Looks like a URL.
Yep. And it's always one of those shortened URLs too.
Yes.
And because it came from a friend, someone that you know, your instinct is to click on it. Like, who died?
Yeah,
You want to
right.
know.
Yeah.
That's their hook. They got you because you're curious and because you think it's coming from your friend. And what it's going to do is going to take over your account, and they're going to send all of your friends that same link, and it's just going to keep going. And then there's worse things that could happen. If it's on your phone, they could literally brick your phone. They could totally take over and control your phone. Take everything that's on it. They would have access to everything. So it's so important not to click on these links. And even in I keep looking for my phone to show you. If you have Messenger on your phone or a Messenger type app, so on Android, it's Messenger, or not Messenger. Android is just messages. And you'll get some kind of weird link, Amazon.abc on 1237810, whatever, some garbly goop kind of message there. It's instantly, you should know that's spam, because Amazon doesn't send messages like that ever. So if you see something that doesn't sound coherent coming from something that's trying to make you click on something, it's spam. And the best thing to do is delete it or mark it as spam, so your ISP provider can start blocking it from your phone and eventually others as well. So we're actually helping to block some of those potentially, because they're just going to try and create a new one. So we're never out of the woods. We're never out of the woods. But we're preventing ourselves from clicking on that same link and making these bad actors work a little harder. And it's a little work for us, but I really need us to make the job really hard for them.
Mm-hmm. Don't these people have anything better to do with their time than?
Unfortunately, sometimes this is how they survive life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna pivot here a little bit, because sometimes these bad actors are not just the guy that you see on TV that's just, super nerdy, geeky guy. Sometimes these are people that are just trying to make money to put food on their table.
Mm.
I mean, there's some really sad stories behind why someone is in this particular job, why they do this for a way of earning money, especially for United States citizens, for Americans. We are so gullible.
Mm-hmm.
We're really dumb when it comes to, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but we will shed a tear and our heart will bleed for a lot of different reasons. And when we hear a story about, hey, I'm struggling, I don't have any food for my kids, if they come right out and say that, chances are you're going to hand them 20 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but a lot of people would, out of the goodness of their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not terrible people, but we're easy targets, because we will throw money at trauma. We will throw money at people's pain. We will try to do things that will bring joy to somebody sometimes, because it makes us feel better, like that charitable type of heart or whatever. And for other reasons, sometimes you just felt inclined to do it. You don't normally do that, but this time I felt like doing it. And then sometimes they're so outlandish, but we want to believe it's so bad that we do it anyway. So there's a large spectrum of why we are huge targets for other countries to scam us.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also leading into another topic, is that, we're traumatized. And then when you've got you're trying to find something out through a place where you buy things, we'll say, and you'll Google a phone number to, does this place have a customer service phone number? And it'll come up, but it's really not that number for that business. It's for some call center out in India. And then you've got those people, you think that they're going to help you obtain what you're looking for, and then they start leading you down a path and getting into some weird financial stuff. And you do it because you fall for it because you have been traumatized.
Yeah. Well, and what's important here is that it is not your fault if you end up falling for one of these scams, because these scams are designed to pull you in. They're designed to trick you. They're designed to make you feel like it's legitimate. So you're not stupid and you're not dumb. You're not, it's not your fault, but we do have to be smarter. And this is why I talk about this all the time, because if I'm not talking, I'm not helping anybody else be smarter or wiser. So I feel like I'm doing my part by sharing my expertise to help people think about these situations, learn how to analyze them. Don't just trust. Don't just trust. If it's someone on the other line, like you and me, if you were to ask me a question and maybe you wanted me to contribute to a good cause, I know you. So that is okay to contribute there. But if I didn't know you and you were asking me to contribute to a cause, I don't know the end game of that cause. I don't know if it's really going to that cause. I don't have any way of following up with that. So, that kind of starts getting a little shady on, should I participate in something like that? Like my heart wants to, but should I? And that's where I need us to kind of analyze the situation and think about what happens if this is not real. Am I okay with giving this money and hoping that it is and not thinking about it? That's one thing. But we all work hard for our money. So we don't want to just give it away to someone that's lying or scamming us. So, that's where I want to start, is it's not our fault, because Technology exploded before we were ready for it. These scams are taking advantage of the fact that we didn't get this training in school. We didn't have this kind of transgenerational knowledge transferred to us. This is a brand new frontier that we were not prepared for. So we have parents that don't know as much as kids, because kids are born with technology in their hands practically. Parents didn't even have a computer in their home, so we have this parenting gap, and that knowledge is not being transferred from our, that generational parenting on how to keep our kids safe in this type of world.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all scrambling to catch up. And in the process of that, we're very easy targets. So we just have to start becoming security-minded analysts in a way. And I know that sounds scary, but it's not really. All you're doing is thinking critically. Now, we went to school to learn how to think critically, right?
Mm-hmm.
All we need to do is apply that critical thinking in this area. And the more that we can apply that ability here and learn what we need to know and spot those red flags, the safer that we're going to be, the safer we're teaching our children to be, and the safer we're being in our communities. And that goes all the way into where we work. Mm-hmm. So work wants to teach their employees how to keep data safe, but it doesn't apply at home. Mm-hmm. When I leave work, that all stays at work because I'm protecting their stuff. Mm-hmm. I need to know how to protect my stuff. That's me. Yeah. So I think that's true for anybody. So when I'm thinking about this, how do I protect my stuff? Everybody needs to know how to protect their stuff. You need to know how to protect that modem. Mm-hmm. You need to know how to protect your Wi-Fi. You need to know how to protect all of your devices by having antivirus, VPN, all of that stuff on there, password managers. You need to know not to click on links. Children need to know this. Now, children are very high targets for phishing scams. Mm-hmm. So phishing scam is spelled with a PH, mm-hmm. and it's a type of scam that lures you in through email, making you think that you're getting an email from your bank, for example. Mm-hmm. But if you look closely at it, you can see that there's errors. Their language is off a little bit. Like, we don't talk like that. So right. If you read something then in a way that we don't speak like, chances are that's a phishing attempt. Mm-hmm. They might they might spell the name of the bank incorrectly. They might use, like an N and a L next to it, or an R. No, it's an N and an R next to each other, where it looks like a letter M. But it's so tiny, you don't see that little space between the R and the N.
Very tricky.
So they play tricks on us because we're not analyzing, we're not thinking critically of that email. And honestly, we shouldn't have to. But guess what?
Yeah,
we have to. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in. And we will continue to be scammed as long as we're not paying attention. Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of these scams that if you have fallen for it, you've got to call the state police or your who's ever in your jurisdiction, and they've got to come out and make a report. And
you could be arrested and never even know why, because somebody else did something with your internet credential. Maybe there's something called war driving, which is when someone drives by your house, and if they can detect your Wi-Fi, which means 1, you didn't hide your Wi-Fi, and 2, you didn't rename it. Mm-hmm. And they can break into if they were able to break into your Wi-Fi because weak password usage or that default password that they were able to go and get all the defaults off the dark web. Now they're sitting outside of your house, and if they can gain access to your Wi-Fi, they can do all kinds of nefarious things that are going to bring law enforcement to your door, not theirs. Your IP is being recorded, not theirs. So other people can intentionally do things like this to circumvent that by putting you in jeopardy and you in trouble with the law. So now the burden of proof is on you to prove that you did not send child sexual abuse material online. It's up to you to prove that you did not embezzle money from your this business or that business. The burden of proof is up to you if something like that were to happen. So, and this is getting very, very sophisticated. They're able to do all kinds of things. They can plug a thumb drive or a USB into your computer and bypass your password. There's so many things that can be done where we're taking for granted of the fact that we think it's safe. I have a password. I logged into it. I lock it when I walk away. Well, if I've already got my thumb drive plugged in and you log in with your password, I got your password. And it looks just like your regular thumb drive or your regular USB. So you probably didn't even realize I plugged something into your device. So yeah, it is getting scary, not to scare people, but I have to scare people. I have to really make people think this is really only going to get worse. And we are so trusting with people around us. And I hate the fact that we can't be, but we have to be skeptical about protecting our devices. It's one thing for us to sit in a public space and drinking a cup of coffee, but it's entirely different to have our phone sitting on the table with me leaning back and talking to someone behind me, not even paying attention to who's getting their hands on my device. They could pick it up and put it down before I ever turn back around. They could pick it up and walk off with it.
Well, I hear people on my podcast say that, they've been falsely arrested. There's more, I'm hearing more about false arrests, and maybe this is a lot of that.
This could play into it. Yeah, this definitely, if it's easy to set someone up if you know a little bit of about technology and the other person doesn't. Not saying that that's what's happening, because I don't know each case, but depending on each case, I mean, that is a scam. Really, it is a scam. If they're being falsely arrested because of planted evidence, someone said something, someone testified, someone put in a report, that's all a scam. Someone provided false information, claimed to have been this, claimed to have been that. That's a scam. In all sense of the word, it is exactly the same thing as these bad actors online. It's a scam. So we have to be cognizant of people around us. We can't just trust everybody anymore. We really do need to know who we share our information with. And we share way too much online. We're putting so much out there. In fact, I do something called a security assessment for your social media. And I had a customer who didn't think I could find anything on her, because she's like, I am good. I know I'm good because I don't do this and I don't do that. I don't share my kids' names and I don't share blah, 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 blah. So I said, okay, well, let's see what I can find. And it was a good challenge. So I was like, yeah, I'm up for it. So I logged in as, I didn't log in as her. I went to her profile and I told her, don't send me a friend request yet. I want to see what I can find before we become friends. So it was, just going through the process, and I'm documenting what I can see and what I can't see, marking down, because if I can't see things, that's good. If I can see things, that's not good. Unless I see specific settings that I want to see, like, are you locking this down? Are you, limiting your friends list? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? So then I have her send me a friend request. And now I can see everything. I can see everything that she posts. That's anything that her friends are allowed to see. So I'm going through, and she's right. She doesn't post a lot of information about herself, except that she will say, oh, happy birthday, Juju Bug. And then on the birthday cake, it says Christy on the picture that she posted. So now I know Juju Bug is Christy. I know Christy's birth date because it's posted on her birthday, and it says happy 10th birthday, Christy. So now I know she's 10, so I know the year she's born. So now I know a lot of information about her child that she did not think I could find. And I could find it in one post. That's not that bad. I mean, it is bad, but it gets worse, actually. So we don't want that kind of information available with our kids. We don't want to put their face on that, because now that face can be put into a profile as well. And what I want to state about this is kind of goes back to our topic last week. If I can find it, so can an online predator.
Mm-hmm.
And they build these profiles so that they can keep this information. So I went on with her security assessment, and by the time I was done, I knew who her mother and father were, her brothers and sisters, their spouses. I knew their kids, their birth dates. I knew what kind of car they drove. I know what kind of clothes they wear. I knew where they like to hang out. I knew what their favorite park was. I knew what time the play dates were. I knew so much information about her family just based off of her profile.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could get to their profile from her profile. Because now that we're friends, I can see theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't lock down their friends, I can now see everything on their profile. So it just created a web for me to go in and say, you did fairly good. A couple of things we need to work on. But because your friends and families were so accessible to me, and everything they post and tagged you in brought me to that. It showed me where you guys go to dinner every Sunday night at 7 p.m. I know you're not home, but I also see a picture of your family outside of your home, and you tell me where you live on another post. So I'm collecting information about you, and if you're at dinner at 7 o'clock, I know where you live, and I can be at your house knowing you're not going to be there for at least 2 hours. So, and then if you travel and you say, hey, I'm gone for 2 weeks, woohoo, I'm not going to be home for 2 more weeks, I'm going to be in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not going to be home in the next 6 hours.
Yeah.
And if I know where you live, you just set up your home to be vulnerable. So, and then tying that back into domestic violence or intimate family violence. If you open yourself up to something like that, it gives people timeframes to work with. And that time frame could be just what they need to put a tracker on your car, on your phone, whatever it is, on your laptop because you're not taking your laptop with you, you take your phone with you. But if I left my phone in my purse on my counter and I went for a jog, and I tell everybody on Facebook I'm going for a jog, I run 5 miles every day at this time, I know you're going to be gone for a certain amount of time to run 5 miles. So if I have access to your home, or if I had it in the past and I figured out a way to get access, or I kept access, I know I can get into your house and your phone is right there in your purse that you left on the counter. So these are things that we don't think of. We think we're safe because we lock the door when we leave for that run. But we're telling everybody on Facebook what we're doing and where we're at and where we're not. So that's super important to really kind of think about everything in a full picture. What am I really sending that I can go through and I can scroll and scroll and scroll for as long as you've been on Facebook. And if you've been on Facebook since MySpace, I could get a lot of information about you. A lot of information. So this is why I do that, because I mean, it really shocked her that I could come back with that much information. I really literally had her family tree and all of the personally identifiable information that went with it.
Yeah, that is really something that, these people can figure all this stuff out so quickly.
We are chronicalizing. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
We are.
We're
chronicalizing it for them. All they have to do is capture it, and they just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. That's all they've got to do. That's all they got to do. They just have to document. Oh, birthday. And when we're putting pictures of our kids on Facebook, and we're telling them we go to, I'm on mommy play dates every Tuesday at noon at this park, so I can't do this, but we're going to be there. That predator now can go to that park, and they know what your kid looks like because you put a picture of them on Facebook. So although I'm not saying you can't share this information on Facebook, I think Facebook is a great way to do electronic scrapbooking. But you cannot let people in that particular part of that world. So you're going to have to, you can do a couple things. You need to create friends lists. If you have people on your profile that you do not know personally, and you don't know where they came from or don't know someone else you know personally. So like you may have introduced me to somebody and you've known them for so many years, and you've met them in person. That doesn't mean I can't trust them because you're kind of validating them. So I can understand how we have this, beyond personal people I personally know. But do I want to share my information that I shared with you with that person? You know him, but I don't know him. So you really have to think about, do I want someone? So if you use friends lists on Facebook and you put your friends and family that deserve and you want to know about that birthday, about that play date, about me jogging, that kind of stuff. Save all your food photos for the public world.
Yeah.
Save all your family photos for that specific friends list that's locked down to only them. And it's not shareable. It's not like someone in that group is going to take it and put it on your profile. And you need to make people know that please don't share this information. If I send this to you, you can also create a group and add all your friends and family into that group and say, everything we share here stays here. But this is where we share our family information. I have a couple of those. And it's really handy because now everybody knows that they can go and post something there and it's not being shared to everybody on Facebook. I have a public profile. Everything I post is viewable by the public unless I put it in something private or into that group so that I'm not sharing too much information. I'm not sharing stuff about my family situation. The dynamics, the demographics, all of that stuff needs to be kept private.
No, that's very smart. That's very valuable information.
We have to change how we conduct ourselves online. It's human behavior. We mean well. It started off well, but now we're being hunted for more or less. We're being hunted for our money. We're being hunted for our children. We're being hunted for romance. We're being hunted online. We are sitting prey. So we just have to think differently and change things, change the way we do things for the sake of our kids and our safety at home. Because you really do have to protect your home by protecting your Facebook account or your Instagram account or any social media platform that you're sharing personal information. You're putting your home in danger. You're putting your job in danger. You could be putting your personal body, yourself, in danger by telling someone where you're at all the time. And then bring in trolls and cyber bullies on top of that. And someone saying, maybe someone doesn't like you and now you've got this troll thing going on. And what that can do is it can inspire champions. And if your information's out there, those champions might go further than the troll ever would. And that's really dangerous.
Well, I'm so glad you told us a lot of valuable information that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, it's really time. It's scary out there. And I'm sorry for, bringing in a little bit of a scare fright here, but we have to. We have to. I'm not trying to just have another scary story. And, people are tired of hearing the scare tactics all the time. But this stuff is real.
It's real.
This is real.
It sure
this
is.
We do have to pay attention to. I mean, I'm not saying none of the rest of it's real because that's real too. But sometimes we think, oh, it's not going to happen to me.
Oh, yeah.
And we can't think like that anymore. We can't think like that anymore when we bring in the internet. Because it's a matter of time. The statistics are growing. 1 in 4 children are being approached by a stranger online. 1 in, I think, was the number 1 in 6 or something. The numbers are new, so I need to go look at the new numbering. But there's a certain amount of children that are being cyberbullied online. I think it's 1 in 5. But 1 in 5, you think, oh, that's not that much. Well, if you got a neighborhood that has more than 5 kids, that's one person at least in your neighborhood that's being cyberbullied online. So you got to think about how, if you take 74 million children that we have in the United States, according to the 2020 census, what's 1/5 of 74 million? That's too big of a number.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only getting worse. And that's only what's been reported.
Right.
We don't know about what's not being reported.
No, I don't think people are reporting enough.
They're not reporting enough because they don't know what to do. They feel like they're not going to get help. And sometimes, and this plays into the domestic violence stuff, sometimes when you make a claim and you say, hey, something's happened, you're not believed. Same for kids that are being cyberbullied. They're not really being believed either.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to say, this is definitely a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to say, I believe someone no matter what, or if you believe someone no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
we can believe someone that says, I am being threatened, I am being bullied, I am in danger, someone is coming after me. We can believe what they're saying and help them and have empathy and figure out a way to keep them safe. That's our job.
Mm-hmm.
Our job isn't to try and determine whether or not they're telling the truth. What we need to do is make them feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
help them be safe. So in this world, it's like, if we're not going to believe someone when they call it out, then who can be safe? Because when it's someone else's turn,
yeah,
do they want to be listened to?
right.
We can't ignore it anymore.
Oh, I'm so glad I had you on, and we're going to do this again. And,
I'd be happy to. Anytime.
People think they hear it, but they think it won't happen to me. But, sometimes things happen.
I would venture to say everybody listening to this has been affected by cybercrime in some way or another. And if it wasn't in a bad way, that's good, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep thinking critically so that it doesn't happen. We can't prevent it if we don't think critically.
Mm-hmm.
We have to really think about what we're doing.
Now, how can people reach you if they want to protect their home, themselves, their family?
Yeah. So I have my website is www.securingeverything.com. I also have a Facebook group. It's Dawn's Club.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I think it is. I think I can type it in. If you just type in Dawn's Club in the Facebook search.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yep, it comes right up. So it's online safety for families, expert advice, and strategies for digital parenting.
Excellent.
So there's a group there. We just got started. It's already got some good members in that, and still building it a little bit, kind of repurposing an old one. But this is where I'm going to start putting a lot of these tips and stuff there. Also, my YouTube channel is Dawn McCarty. So youtube.com/Dawn McCarty. That's where I'll be putting a lot of the video, the new video tutorials that I'm building. Those will go there. And on Facebook, I am Dawn McCarty. Just doing a search for Dawn McCarty on most of these platforms, you'll find me.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids is Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Dawn McCarty in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to coming back.
Definitely.